So there's a quorum of Chip, Janine, John, Tom, and myself. Chip, do you have that motion? If not, I've got it. If you don't have it available, I've got it here. We have Chip's on mute. Chip, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, you got the motion, or do you want me to read it? I got it. If you,
I don't have my phone with me, sorry.
it's okay. All right. All right. The motion that we are at, there's an article on town meeting for the purposes of appropriating, borrowing, transfer from available funds under the direction of the Permanent Building Committee, a feasibility study for the reconstruction of Wakefield Memorial High School. Then it's through the MSBA grant program. The motion reads, and it reads forever, that the town appropriate the sum of, and we don't know what the sum is yet, to be determined, for a feasibility study concerning the proposed reconstruction of the Wakefield Memorial High School, 60 Farm Street, Wakefield, Mass., including the payment of all costs, incidental or related thereto, and for which the town may be eligible for a grant from the Massachusetts School Building Authority, the MSBA. Said amount to be expended under the direction of the Permanent Building Committee and advised by the Wakefield Memorial High School Building Committee. To meet this appropriation, the town treasurer, with the approval of the town council, was authorized to borrow said amount under and pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, or pursuant to any other enabling authority, provided that any premium received upon the sale of any bonds or notes approved under this vote, less any such premium applied to the payment of the cost of issuance of such bonds or notes, may be applied to the payment of costs so approved in accordance with General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 20, thereby reducing the amount authorized to be borrowed to be paid such costs by like amount, and to authorize the town council and any other town official to take any other action necessary or convenient to carry out the purpose of this vote. The town of Wakefield acknowledges that the MSBA grant program is a non-entitlement discretionary program based on need, as determined by the MSBA, and any cost the town incurs in excess of any grant approved by and received from the MSBA shall be the sole responsibility of the town, and the amount of borrowing authorized pursuant to the vote shall be reduced by any grant set forth in any feasibility study agreement that may be executed between the town and the MSBA. Do I hear a motion
I move that we approve the motion to be sent to town meeting as read.
Second that.
Any discussion? Let's see, in favor, Chip,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Janine,
Yes.
and myself, yes, unanimous. All right, we did that. Now, after I catch my breath for reading the motion, I think everybody has, I hope everybody has the score sheets. The procedure is going to be essentially, we will, the missing members will have a chance to review it because this is being recorded. We will send, either take a picture, scan, or whatever, and send your score sheet to Chip, and the tabulations will be made. We'll be probably meeting approximately next Thursday, not this Thursday, but next Thursday, to discuss and go over the score sheet and go and proceed from there. All right, has everybody got that?
Yep.
Any issues, any discussion about it? All right, it's 7:05, and I will hand this over to John from Vertex. John?
Great. Thank you, Joe. Thanks, everybody. Just let me share my screen here. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
All right, awesome. So again, thanks everybody for having us tonight. We're excited for the opportunity to tell you a little bit more about our company. My name is John Lemieux. I've got over 27 years experience in the building industry, registered civil engineer in the Commonwealth. Extensive experience with municipal projects. Public work is essentially all I've ever done. I've sat on a couple of building committees reading very similar things to what you just read, Joe. I was on the building committee in Duxbury when we did our $120 million middle high school. So we appreciate, sitting across the table and the work that goes into being on a committee like this. I am in charge of owner's project management work for Vertex. It is all I do. It is my full-time job. Kevin?
Yes, good evening, everybody. My name is Kevin Heffernan. I'll be the project manager on the project. I've been with Vertex for 21 years. I have over 26 years experience in the construction industry. I've also director of health and safety, as well as being the chairman of the high school building committee in my town of Billerica. I'm the past project manager for the Littleton Fire, Randolph Fire and Police, Westford Fire, as well as several other ones. And I'm the current project manager on the Charlton Public Safety and the Tewksbury Fire. And I have several members of my family who are current members of the NYPD, so I understand the importance of this type of project for your community and your department.
Brian?
Hello, I'm Brian Jarvis, Senior Project Manager with Vertex Alto. Also, I've been in the construction industry for over 16 years. I've been doing OPM work for over 12 years. Extensive experience with municipal construction, mostly in public safety buildings and schools. So very familiar with the equipment and systems that go into those buildings. Currently working on a middle school in Natick. Also have very extensive Chapter 149A CM at risk experience. And I've been the Senior Project Manager on past projects, public safety, Walpole Police, Westwood Police, Newton Fire, and currently on the Dedham Public Safety Building. As John mentioned, I've been with the company for over 10 years, and I'll be helping out in the design phase of the project.
Thanks, Brian. So just a little bit about us. I mean, as you saw from our submission, we were founded in '95. About 5 years ago, we became an ESOP, which is a completely owner-owned company, employee-owned company. So everybody you're talking to on this call tonight, or anybody at Vertex, is an employee owner. We also acquired Compass Project Management in 2019, which was a great for us, and I'll show you that on the next slide. We also have significant experience with troubled projects. A lot of our construction experience when Vertex first started was working for bonding companies. So if you've ever heard of a contractor going out of business, or an owner needing to terminate a contractor, we're the consultants that a lot of bonding companies use to kind of go and figure that out. And you say, well, wait a minute, we don't want a problem project. And we agree with you. And we've been able to take a lot of those lessons learned from our work with the bonding companies and really help build a good foundation for us as an OPM team. And again, the people you're talking with tonight are that team for this project for Wakefield. So again, just briefly, this is our project team. And just to show you, you're like, who are these 6 people at the bottom? This is just to show you some of the breadth and depth that we have at Vertex. Depth-wise, from a bench standpoint, we have 43 people that work out of our Norwood office and Weymouth office. All we do is owner's project management work for clients. The gentleman you see down below, those are all of our other service areas. So not that you're going to hire us for architectural work or civil or structural, but we have in-house resources that we can use to help, when we reviewed project documents before they go out on the street. And Brian will talk a little bit more about that later on. So as you saw from, our submission, we have done a lot of public safety projects. This is a listing of the projects. We've done a range of new projects and addition renovation jobs. We've worked on a number of projects with HKT, who was your study architect, and we understand that maybe you'll continue with them, or maybe we'll go back and do designer procurement again. But we do have that experience with them, including project right now at Ashland on a public safety building, as well as Tewksbury Fire. So what we thought we'd do is take an opportunity to present one project to you, because we think it mirrors your situations so very closely with the police side of the public safety building. And that's the Randolph Police Station addition and renovation project. Randolph basically had 3 different buildings over time. They started in 1968. when they had only 28 officers and about 7,500 square feet. In 96, they built a very small addition to the town hall and moved into some of the space there, about 17,000 square feet. At that time, they had 58 full-time officers. And then 2015, when we got involved with them, the force had grown to 64, and the project ultimately got them just 20,500 square feet. And they had a lot of the same issues that we saw in the presentation at your station. Overcrowded areas, lack of storage, inappropriate interview and meeting spaces, storage basically wherever it could fit. Evidence storage was a real issue. I mean, on the day we did the walkthrough of the building for designers, there was more evidence on the tables than we had ever seen, just, waiting to be processed because of the lack of a decent place to be able to do it. Inappropriate sally port facilities, lockers were inadequate, and a lot of the workspaces looked like this one in the lower right-hand corner. Just not a great situation for such a busy force. Other challenges of the building, it was a very tight site. The little red highlighted box that you see there, that was the only opportunity for expansion. In the project, we also evaluated if the project could, if the project was able to build on top of the sally port area, but it would have been far too much work in order to be, and cost to be able to make that work for the project. There was also limited parking, and then very similar was the situation of, this is a full-time building and needed to stay a full-time building throughout the duration of the project.
From where?
This was ultimately kind of the layout that we dealt with. And the most important part of this is that the solution required a complete rethinking of the existing spaces and a really detailed phasing plan. I think it was phases A through G on the project. And I'll just let Kevin talk a little bit here about some of the challenges that he saw as the PM for that project. Kevin?
So some of the challenges that we had obviously was a fully occupied police station 24/7 attached to an existing and occupied town hall. So we had to work very closely with Chief Pace and his officers on occupying space, doing the renovation, giving up that space, letting them move in and taking over another space. So it was very, very important that we had daily, if not hourly, discussions with the chief and his department, just to let them understand where we were going next. So there were no surprises, because you had to work fully around them in issuing arrests when they had to bring the inmates in or the general public in. And we also had to work with the police department as far as security goes, because you just couldn't let anybody, especially the contractors, walk around a police station without being escorted or allowing them into the town hall unescorted. So those are some of the challenges that we had as far as keeping the police department and the chief and all of his rank and file informed as to what was going on throughout the project.
Thanks, Kevin. And as you can see from some of these pictures, it really was taking spaces, regardless of what they were in the past, and just looking at that new layout and saying, okay, this is what's best. As you can see in the first set of pictures here on the left, we had the old chief's office, which ultimately became the new detective's office. Up here, you can see this hallway. This hallway, no construction had started in this hallway yet. This is what it looked like. So not a great place to work, not great for morale. And at the end of the day, you can see when we were about 98% complete, this hallway was able to be widened a small amount, and a lot of great storage was put in along the walls. Similarly, down below, you can see roll call after demo had started, just started, and that turned into the new men's locker room on the 4th. As you saw from some of those early pictures, the lockers that were there previously, just not big enough, didn't have any of the connections or ventilation that new lockers have today, for everybody's electronics, for everybody's PPE, and other accessories. The old dispatch, this was kind of, dispatch usually gets looked at, and they say, well, boy, it's a big deal to move it, and it is. But ultimately, where Randolph was set up, it wasn't great for the project. I know yours is on the second floor. and the thought to move it to the first floor where, public facing is important. And that's what Randolph decided as well. And, their old dispatch became their new roll call room. Their roll call room basically doubled in size. And at the end of the day, when the project was over, what were the keys to its success? We had a great designer who had really good experience with renovations and really excellent public safety experience. Next, we'd really define the needs versus the wants. There's a lot of things that the chief needs to get into this project, and we want all of those to be addressed to the extent they can. And if we can get some of those wants in at the end of the day under the budget, then we're going to absolutely try to push for that as well. We had a solid general contractor who had an excellent superintendent. And at the end of the day, if we have to pre-qualify, and we'll talk about that in a minute, or we would suggest possibly pre-qualifying, because that superintendent is really key to the running of the project. The superintendent met with Kevin, met with our clerk in the field, met with Chief Pace, again, on a very regular basis. And there was a willingness to rework the phasing plan and horse trade a little bit as, certain latent conditions came up, because no matter how good a study was done by HKT, there are going to be things behind the wall that are unexpected. There's going to be curveballs, and the ability to move on the fly and change as you go is really key to that process. So, what's next for you? Again, first we kick it off by making sure, we have a designer who has experience with similar renovation addition projects of the size and scope. Similarly, do their sub-consultants have that experience, and do their sub-consultants have the capacity to focus on multiple jobs at a time? I mean, what happens, usually when a designer falls down, when things slow down, it's not because of the architect. It's because of a weak link in the chain of the sub-consultants that are brought on as part of the team. Does the structural engineer have the capacity to do what they need to? Does the MEP? And a job like this, where you're really talking about some systems that have some issues in the building, we want to make sure that they have a strong mechanical, electrical, and plumbing sub-consultant on the team. Once you have that team on board, then it's about making sure we've answered all the questions in the beginning. We want to confirm that the prior study, work that was done to date. Do you have what you need? Do you have what you need in the job? Is there a list of what you'd like to have? All those problems that were identified in the presentation you gave the OPMs, have all of those been addressed? And if not, how can we make sure that they get addressed in the process? And then how do those answers to those questions align with the budget? We'll talk about budget in just a second. But the other question people will want to know is that once you get over the hill of convincing folks in the town that the job is needed, then they spin around and say, well, you're building for the future. Are you building for it with enough foresight so that later you won't be coming back to us again for more money? And it's important to be able to say, yes, we've thought about that, and be able to address that when speaking with them. So a little bit about budget. We want to make sure that you have a comprehensive budget to make sure you're carrying all the necessary costs. It's not just construction and designer and OPM, but it can be the death by 1,000 cuts. Is there anything we have to do for geotech for that little piece of land outside that we're going to expand onto? Hazmat survey within the existing building, construction testing costs. That's something that, years ago we used to carry $15,000, $20,000 for construction testing. But as the building codes have gotten more advanced, there's calls for more and more independent third-party testing. So we want to make sure that there's $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 for that on the project, because ultimately we want to make sure you have what you need in the budget, and we don't have to ever go back again, or we have a contingency to cover it. Because as you know, people always remember the first number that goes out there, and going back on that number, if you have to have a really good explanation as to why. Then after we get out of schematic design and we have our program ready, we get into design development. And we're going to talk about the project delivery method with you. Is it going to be 149, which is design bid build, or 149A, CM at risk? And we get into our first constructability review. And Brian, if you would talk a little bit about that, that'd be great.
Thanks, John. So constructability review. So what we're looking at here is we're bringing all of our experience from past projects, lessons learned, and looking at the designer's work. So we're looking at, is it addressing those requirements? What are the systems that they're putting into the building? Are those systems that you're comfortable with? Are they the systems that fit into your budget and not just the systems that they typically design? Is it something that can be built practically? And in this project, what is the phasing that goes along with trying to build some of these aspects of the building? It's looking at and understanding all the key components that go in from the systems that we talked about, not only the MEP, but things like security and technology, how that fits into your existing operations. Starting to think about ways that you could possibly value engineer that budget. So when we start getting estimates in, are there things that go on that want list or go on that need list or switch between the two to help manage that budget? Are there things that we could become bid alternates down the road that, hey, if we get very aggressive bids and we can fit them in the budget, we'll take them. If not, we don't, and we can manage the budget that way. Other things that John mentioned, in addition to phasing, is there's things that we need to do temporary operation wise. How does that fit into the phasing of the project, and how are we going to keep the force going 24/7, and how does that relate to the budget? Also start thinking about things like FF&E, the specialty equipment. How does that fit into the design? Is the design incorporating that? Are we building items in for the future? Are we putting spare conduits because we know we might switch this around, or we might grow the force or things like that? And then the key also with constructability is making sure that it's something that the project and the design team can deliver in the time that you need to. And then you can also get them to deliver to the milestones that we need to keep on schedule to get us bids or however we decide to price the project.
Thank you, Brian.
Yep.
Then as the design moves from design development to construction documents, it's just another iteration, more detail. We do another constructability review at the end of construction documents. We also at that point start talking about pre-qualification of subs and GCs. Do we want to pre-qualify? If the job is over 10 million construction, you have to pre-qualify, but if it's under, you have the option. And it might be a really good consideration for Wakefield to think about that, as we get to that point. And then we get to bidding, make sure the project is bid in accordance with Mass General Law procurement laws. We walk the sites with them. We assist with the reference checks for the successful bidder. We move on to construction. At the end of the day, we are your eyes and ears. You all have full-time jobs. Your job becomes our full-time job. And probably the most important part of construction for a job like this is to ensure that the work does not impact daily operations. Again, fully functioning police and fire station on site cannot be impacted at any time, no way, no how. We're there to measure schedule and budget, make sure that we're tracking appropriately, attend the job meetings, measure the designer's performance to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to as well, and make sure that that contractor schedule doesn't impact time critical dates for startup. As an example, if we're moving dispatch, E911, they give you a date, you have to stick to that date. There is no calling them 2 days before and saying, you know what, we're going to move this a couple days. So having a schedule and sticking to it is critical. We'll talk a little bit here about site management. This here is a view of our report from our Newbury Police Station job, which is ongoing. All of our reports are tracked, daily reports are tracked on this software called Raken. We can send it to as many or as few people as you like. It's our way to track the workforce, photos, any issues on site, keep track of time and material slips, and good place to check in for QA/QC and make sure the project is being built as it's supposed to along the way. Also, when it comes to communication, it's super important that that we are, we're there to help you sell the project to the town. We're also there to inform the stakeholders. I mean, this is a lot of money. You've got a school project going on at the same time. We're trying to, just get started. People want to make sure that their dollars are being spent the right way. And it's our job to help you address concerns that come up from the get-go. We will issue you a monthly report. You can see an example on the left here from the Southborough project, Southborough Public Safety. And basically it's a snapshot of project information, payment, claims if there are any, schedule update, construction activity, change orders, issues, all those sorts of things. We have provided very detailed project reports. Southborough, as a matter of fact, every document we sent them, they posted online. You don't have to do that, but we are prepared to be able to give you whatever deliverable you need, for folks, for the public. And as far as helping you sell the project, we have been involved with info sessions, cable interviews. Kevin did numerous public cable regular interviews for the town as they were building public safety or a fire station up in Chelmsford. Whatever you need us to do, we can do. Brian, you want to talk a little bit about owner-provided items?
Sure. And another service that we provide, we think differentiates us from some others, is that not only do we help you with the design and the procurement of other systems like FF&E technology, communications, station alerting, we help manage that during the project. We work with whoever is the point person for the project for the force. We hold regular meetings starting on day one of construction to make sure that those vendors are integrated in construction, so they're working hand in hand with the electrician or the mason or whoever it might be to get the infrastructure in place. And making sure that the procurement and the delivery and install of those systems are on time. As John mentioned earlier, E911, these are very critical systems, not only to the building systems such as security, but also the communication, and even more so in a phased, fully operational station where you're bringing things online, moving things around. They have to be ready the day they need to be ready. We call that our transition process. So it's again, getting the force up to speed, informed, understanding where the schedule is, getting them plenty of running room to get ready for these things so it goes as smoothly as possible. And we help manage that all the way through.
Thank you, Brian. And then lastly, just construction, a word about us being your project liaison. I mean, you all know this project is in the middle of a dense area. Everybody's going to know what's going on, whether you want them to or not. And we're here to serve, as the town contact for this project. We've done things along the lines of holding town hall weekly information meetings, meaning, neighbors, businesses want to know what's up. Here we're going to meet, Fridays at noon, give you, a 5-minute update of what's coming next week. We'll also be available to help distribute, weekly emails, to everybody on the force so they know what's going on. They understand, what's coming up. Is there going to be a parking issue? Are they going to have to move certain things? Our goal is to make the contractor's impact on the project or daily operations in the building as minimal as possible. But when we do need to, when there does need to be an impact, if we communicate it clearly and well in advance, everybody knows what to expect. So I guess as we wrap up here, important, as you said, our important next steps for you, whether you choose us or not, is, select a designer that's got this experience for you. Confirm that all your needs are met and addressed in this program that you're putting forward. Have a good phased approach, well planned, well thought out. Have a good idea for that swing space. You create one little new space for people to move into. You can start that hopscotching and get everything done that you need to. Maintain a realistic budget so that everybody, everybody's understandings, are known from the beginning and there's no surprises. And consider pre-qualification at the end of the day because we think it could help. And why us? We've done projects like this before. We've done one just like this before. And I think if you called any of the chiefs we've worked with, they'd tell you we're a responsive and attentive team. You've got a senior team here that is willing to hit the ground running for you. And as I said, we're all owners here, so you have our commitment that we'll do a great job for you. And with that, I turn it over to you for questions.
Thank you, John. Does anybody have any questions?
I do, Joe.
Yep, Chip.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. That was pretty concise and thoughtful, so thank you. One of the things I've always found that the clerk of the works is probably the most important. You guys are all great, but you guys are office guys. Talk to me about your clerk of the works and the guy that's going to have his feet on the ground every day in the on-site.
Yeah, no, it's an excellent question, Chip. And, at the end of the day, we've all done that role. And I think it's important for you to realize that, so we understand how necessary that is. And similarly, as the superintendent and the clerk are the two folks who are going to be right there from hit the ground running. We have a series of folks who would be available for this project. But until the timeline gets nailed down, it's a little disingenuous for me to bring somebody and say, here's your person, because we got to nail that timeline down. But at the end of the day, we have never had a clerk removed from a project because there wasn't a good jiving with the rest of the project team. So we would be willing to provide whoever you want resumes and and set up a little confirmation hearing before we were to get started with that. Because let's face it, at the end of the day, this is as much about technical capabilities as it is, can we work with the person that you're presenting? Because, it's a relationship that's going to be, 16, 18, 24 months at the end of the day. And we want to make sure that, at the end, all you're going to get is a phone call and say, how'd Vertex do? Everybody else gets a written evaluation. All we get's a phone call. And, that's not lost on us. And that phone call better be good. And that, last taste in your mouth when we leave should be a good one. And, it's an important role for us.
And the only other question I had was, you didn't spend much time talking about, Vertex is an AEC company. How do you fit into the big world of Vertex?
So we are probably in the construction silo of Vertex. We're probably about a third of the construction group. We started, when I started at Vertex 20 years ago, Kevin, I think, had been there a few months before me. There were about 30 of us. And yeah, over time, we've grown organically. But we've always maintained kind of that, or sense of urgency, I guess. That's kind of one of our core guiding principles, add value and operate with a sense of urgency. If we're not adding value to you and your project, what are we doing? I mean, at the end of the day, that's what we're striving to do here. So, we don't kill a project with people. We give you an honest evaluation of what we think you need based on, all those public safety projects. And, we don't just do public safety. We've done enough other public work, municipal, schools, DPW buildings. Project ranges from 2 million to over 300 million. So we understand, every project's important to the owner that's entrusting us with it. A $3 million project, that's just because it's $3 million doesn't mean it goes any easier than a $100 million project. Sometimes quite the opposite. Every project that we, get a yes on, we want you to feel like, it's the only project we have.
Okay. And during the weekly job meetings, who do we see? I'd normally say on site, but who do we?
That would be.
Who knows what that's going to be and when we get back to on site? But
no,
who do we normally see? Is it the project manager and the clerk, or?
Correct.
Okay.
For this job, it would be Kevin. It would be Kevin and whoever that clerk ends up being through design right until the handoff. I mean, you would see a cross section of the three of us. Again, not duplicating efforts, but wanting to be there and be involved, through all those critical decision points. As an example, I stay very involved until construction. Then I kind of step back. I still check in. I'm still there. You need me, I'm there. But at the end of the day, there is a little bit of a handoff. I love doing the design piece and the budgeting piece and making sure that stuff is solid and you get your project approved. And then, it goes over to Kevin. And that's why, we have that involvement of the PM from the beginning to the end. And that just like we hope when we hire a designer that we have the same CA person from the beginning to the end, you need that continuity in the entirety of the process.
And then what's your opinion on 149 versus 149A?
Well, we all have an opinion on that. 149A will cost you more money, and it'll cost you about 5% more out of the gate. There are all sorts of studies that will say that, maybe it does and maybe it doesn't, but ultimately you are dealing with a more sophisticated pool of contractors, and that comes with higher overhead. And I think on a project like this, if the phasing plan is complicated enough, we could have that discussion. Maybe it merits it. However, I'll tell you, we did that very complicated project in Randolph and had an awesome GC, and it was great. So it's not necessary. And having a CM at risk doesn't guarantee success. But again, you are dealing with a more sophisticated pool of folks than you are with straight up design bid build.
Thank you.
Anyone else? John, I had a quick question. I was looking at your list and your proposal. When the Randolph Police Station was done in 2017, it was finished. Is that correct? Did you show
Yes.
this? Okay.
Yes, that's correct. Those two projects, Joe, were bid solicited together, same designer, but bid as separate projects. So with Kessel Booth was the designer for both. And we had two different contractors. They were bid as two separate projects, but designed kind of as one plan combination of projects.
Have you had any recent other police station renovations with phasing besides Randolph? Any other recent ones? It
Not
looked like
police.
most of them were new.
We have done a number of fire stations recently. Everett Hancock Station, Everett Central Station. We're working for Braintree right now, just getting started with the designer on their phasing plan for their fire headquarters right in Braintree Center. Similar issues, nowhere else to go, very little room for auxiliary space. Same process, just different subject matter.
Okay.
But obviously a full-time 24-hour, got to keep it open, no questions asked. Not an option.
Speaking of keeping it open, Chief Scory, do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any questions.
Okay.
I'm just glad that they have some experience with the phasing of a project.
Just wanted to make sure on that phasing part for you. Anybody else have any questions?
I'm good.
All right. Everybody else okay? John, thank you very much. Brian,
Great. Thank you.
thank
Hey,
you.
guys, thank you for the opportunity.
And Kevin,
Take care.
Good luck,
Joe, just while they're still on, 1 second,
yeah,
we should probably tell them what our next steps are.
as you may have heard in the beginning, we have a score sheet to tabulate. There are 4 different interviews tonight. Excuse me, because some of the members are not around, they're going to review it because it's recorded. And we're probably going to be meeting again next Thursday to discuss regarding the score sheets and where everybody lands in that pecking order. In accordance with that, the one who has the highest score, we will begin negotiations regarding the position. And obviously, if negotiations fail, you go to the next one, like the normal process. All right?
We won't let that happen.
All right. All righty. Thank you.
Guys, thanks so much. Have a
Thank
good
you.
evening. Take care.
Thank you.
All right, everybody can click off because I got to get the next one on.
Thank you.
I'm just thrilled that I was able to do that. All right. I'm going to admit the folks from Doran Whittier. And let me do that now. Trip?
I'm trying to get myself unmuted.
All right. Oh,
The
okay.
screen, there we go.
I also have, who else do you have with you tonight?
So we have them, they were all in the waiting room. Chip Heitkamp
Yep, I clicked him.
did, good. Jason Harris,
Oh, all right. See, I didn't know that one's one. Okay, I just clicked him.
okay. Terry Hartford
I think I already did him.
and Mike Cox.
Oh, I just have a Doran Whittier. I'm just,
Yeah,
That's
it
Terry.
would be,
that might be someone else.
Nope, that would be Terry. Yep,
All right.
oh, Terry's at the office.
correct.
Okay.
You seem to have Jason twice.
Yes, that's right, actually.
Okay. I just clicked where it said admit. All right. Trip,
Yes.
I'm going to make you do you have the PowerPoint that you wish to show? Do you have?
Mike Cox is going to, or Jason Harris.
Actually, yeah, I've got it.
Jason, you have it?
I do.
All right, I'm going to make you a co-host so that you can control and share the screen, all right?
All right.
Trust me, it's much better with Jason running the machine than me.
And actually, would you mind doing the other Jason Harris?
There's two.
There are two. One is for audio and video, and the other is for the presentation.
All right. There it is. Down at the very bottom.
All
Did that work?
right. That did work.
All right.
Great.
Oh,
Thank you.
Good job.
Challenging Joe's technical knowledge.
I think Joe's done a
Already
marvelous job.
surpassed me by a
I was
ton.
on the phone with my son earlier, so showed me where to point.
That's a good one.
All right, whenever you're ready, Trip. That's great.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for allowing us to present. And we know that you had a lot of qualified people, and we were thrilled that we got the invitation to come see you tonight. Anyhow, I'll jump right in. I'm going to just give a brief background. My understanding is just from a timing standpoint that we're in the neighborhood of 15, 20 minutes presentation, and you're going to have maybe some questions, and we're done in about a half an hour. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Excellent. Okay. So if I can give a little background on the Doran Whittier, our firm's been around since 1992, and we really have been focused primarily on public building design and construction. I come with over 35 years of construction experience. Jason comes with 20 years of design experience, and Chip is an architect, and Terry's got 25 years of building experience. So we have a really diverse team. One of the things that was appealing about this project was the fact that Doran Whittier had done some preliminary study work in Wakefield and spoke very highly of your committee and the town. We really want to continue to try to build on a relationship that was started at one point in time. And we know that you have other work coming down the pipe. So we'd really like to get to know you, and we'd love to do a tremendous job for you, because that's how we stay in business is through repeat work. You know, I really think that the Doran Whittier resources bring to the table are a little bit better than our competitors, in that we've done so many different public safety projects, and Chip is going to talk about that. But I think when you bring the design and the construction backgrounds to the table that we offer, especially in public building, I think we have a really solid team to really deliver on this project. And our reputation amongst these public entities, and working with committees, working with town governments, it really is something that has been successful for us, and we've gotten a great reputation for delivering quality projects and staying within schedule and budget. So with that, you know, I'm going to run the team. I reevaluated a little bit on the team side, because I realized that when I put numbers next to the number of hours that we had put in the book, that we were going to be out of the financial realm of reasonableness. So I really looked back and said, you know, what are we really going to do for this project? And I think that the biggest thing we're doing is we're bringing Chip's experience with his public safety buildings, and his experience with renovation and phasing, because the renovation and phasing is going to be absolutely the most important part of this. And I really think that those two combined are really going to deliver the resources and the skill sets that you really need. I'm going to play the overall executive role, where with what's going on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, you know, a couple times a week, I'd be with the team and your meetings and things like that. But the Chip and Terry team really brings some great experience. Mike Cox is running all of our financial controls and financial tracking. We've got proprietary systems that we've actually developed and Mike will bring a real control to the project. As you know, probably with other renovations that have occurred in the various buildings in Wakefield, renovations are tough. There's no way to really understand everything that's there because it's all hidden. So you really have to keep a very close eye on the financial aspects of it, because you're going to constantly be making decisions on which way to go based on new information. Rachel Donner's joining us. She's tremendous in a supportive role and will help with communications and public events, and getting community information out, keeping websites up to date. And she's done a really good job with that. And Jason Harris is really kind of a tremendous resource for us on the front end. Focuses on programming and evaluating the space needs. While you've already done this, the study's a little bit on the older side, you may have some elements that you may want to revisit. And I'm going to run through a little bit of his proprietary tools he's made to actually assist clients in evaluating and making decisions on the programming side. With that, I'll turn it over to Chip to talk about some of our experience.
Great. Thank you, Trip. Good evening. It's really great to be here. My name is Chip Heitkamp. We do have an understanding. We understand the unique requirements of the public safety projects. Our years of experience have provided us with a sound understanding of the accreditation requirements, procedures, and training methods essential to your departments. Our experience with public safety is well documented, whether it's a standalone police or fire station or a combined public safety facility. This slide shows our completed public safety projects, a list that includes new construction, renovation, and add renovation. Personally, I've successfully managed 6 of these projects, 5 of which, similar to your project, involve a tight urban site that provides minimal space for construction operations and requires a high level of coordination with the project team, and often involved some really innovative solutions. It's our experience that during construction, there is no greater threat to a successful project than falling behind schedule. We address this by establishing a strong on-site presence, which streamlines the communication with the project team to resolve the issues in a team-oriented collaborative process. We believe the experience Doran Whittier brings to the table will be a great asset for your project, and we look forward to getting started. And with that, I will turn it over to Terry Hartford.
That's great. Hi, everyone. My name is Terry Hartford, and as Trip mentioned, I'll be the project manager. Given my experience with Doran Whittier, I'm just coming off the renovation of a 300,000 square foot vocational high school in Canton. It was an occupied phase renovation over 2 summers, second shift work, really challenging environment and a critical space for those communities. So I know what it takes to kind of navigate through that environment. Before I joined Doran Whittier, I spent 25 years as a project manager constructing power plants here in this country and frankly around the world. So I'm pretty capable with dealing with large project teams with tight schedules, keeping those projects under budget and on time. On a personal level, I know this is a little challenging when we're all on these phones, but everyone's getting used to it. A lot of times if you see me on your screen, people often say, do you have a law enforcement or are you in the military in some sort? And with this job, I'd love to be able to say no, but I do play one on TV. In all seriousness, I have spent my last run-in with law enforcement. I spent 4 months at a facility near you in Middleton, the juvenile detention facility. I was the head math teacher for 4 months, and that was not too long ago. But that experience, not many people know what it's like to go through 7 locks to get to their desk. And I think that gives you a unique perspective on what a public safety facility is like. So, I know you guys have a ton of interest in this project, and that doesn't surprise me. And I know you've had a bunch of firms submit proposals and you're interviewing a bunch. And frankly, if I was in your shoes, I think you should know all of those firms can do this job. And I think what is in front of you is to figure out who's the person that we want on a day-to-day basis running this job. And in the case of Doran Whittier, that would be me. I'm super excited to do that. And so I want to run through a few things about what our approach really is in terms of providing OPM services. And so, you know, with this job, with the schedule that you see in front of you, we are now, Jason, just go back. You can stay back.
Sorry about that.
Schedule. Thanks. You know, we're going to hit the ground running. I'm going to put in RFS to get a designer on board as soon as we sign a contract. And then concurrent with that, we are going to do a programming exercise that Tripp's mentioned that Jason will lead in terms of either validating or updating the work that you've already done, reviewing all of the previous facility studies. You have a preliminary design. We need to look at all of that and update and really prioritize what the goals of this project is for the town of Wakefield and for the police and fire departments. And, you know, during that process, we'll put all of that together. We'll get a designer on board, and we're going to hand that to them to give them the opportunity to hit the ground running, to say, this is what we want. And then from there, you know, we're going to work with that designer to come up with the best overall solution. And I think one of the things that differentiates Doran Whittier, we also design these facilities. You know, we've done that. You saw that on the previous slide throughout the Commonwealth. So we're going to bring that back into our shop and show it to folks that really do understand public safety facilities, not just from the construction side, but also from, you know, the programming side, code analysis. Is this the right fit? Can we make it better for you guys? And that's going to form, you know, that best overall solution for this project. And that serves as a real tool for you, the community, us, because we can use that and provide that as part of our communication and stakeholder management, which is crucial. And all the firms do all of that. I think Tripp mentioned it. Rachel's excellent. Ultimately, you know, for us, you know, I don't want to spend a ton of time on that, but I want to commend you on what you've done so far. You know, I've viewed all of your videos. I've looked at all the documentation. You've made an excellent case for why this is needed. And so, you know, I commend you for that. From there, you know, you see there's an estimating element of this. We have to figure out what this project's going to cost. And we do that in-house. That's our job. We also have our designers that do that as well. We use a third-party estimator to validate costs. We will basically know exactly what we are going to put into our budget going forward. We're going to have to figure out from a contracting strategy, do we want to go design, bid, build, or see them at risk? And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute or two. But those guys are going to have input onto scope, schedule, phasing, all of that. And, you know, that plays a part in the overall plan to put this project into construction. And from, you know, I will mention, it's crucial on a job like this to know your scope, right? And then to document it. So we need to do that with quality specs, quality design drawings, and the contract that we actually put in place. So that's a critical element. And from there, you know, we kind of turn the page and we look into actually building this and doing this over, you know, a period of, you know, call it a year plus. And, you know, we're going to start it, we're going to finish it. Ultimately, we're going to commission it and turn it over to you with hopefully a project that you can be quite proud of and enjoy for now and for years to come. So that's kind of the scope of services that we bring to the table. And I want to talk about a couple of the legs of the table. So Jason, if you can go to the next slide. From a schedule perspective, you know, it really is about this upfront work and defining what do we want, what's our priority, and then that forms, you know, the design, that forms how we're going to do this. And so then we have to create a realistic timeline. It's super important to incorporate contingency plans in a renovation. I've mentioned quality bid documents and having a competent builder, you know, and when we get into construction, there's a number of ways that we need to monitor schedule. And informally, what that takes is an in-person involvement, and that would be me. I've spent a lot of time on construction sites. I know when it's behind schedule, when we're not meeting timelines, and then we have to address that. And in a formal perspective, we're going to have weekly meetings with the owner, the CM, the design team. We're going to say, okay, we're behind schedule. What do we do? We'll have some contingency plans that I've mentioned as part of our base schedule, but there's other things that we can do. Maybe it's we bring more labor in for a certain sub. Maybe it's we look at second shift work, or we do work on weekends. The point is that we're on top of it, and then we kind of implement strategies to fix things. So the next thing is really the budget. And just like schedule, it's that upfront. What are we trying to do? And then we define it, and then we estimate it a bunch. We put in our overall budget, and then we have to do something critical with any renovation, is to determine what don't we know. And if we think there's things out there that we're going to encounter, given the age of the building, we have to make appropriate contingencies and allowances for it. And if we encounter those in the field when we're in that renovation project, well, that's okay, because we've allocated money for it. We're avoiding change orders. If we don't, hey, that's good too, because the owner just saved some money. And so that, and then when we get into construction, it's managing that process. I know Tripp mentioned Mike. Mike and I have worked on a number of jobs together. He's very good at what he does. We do a ton of public work. A lot of that is with the MSBA, and we've developed an online database system that basically is a living, breathing, tool that projects and explains all costs. So GC costs, all major subs, any owner's costs. We figure out what the total is for each of those. We track what's been paid and what's still to go. And Mike does that, pretty frequently. It's a repository of knowledge, not just for us, but for the owner, so that you can see all of the invoices. Where we are in the schedule. It's a great tool, and I'm sure will enjoy it, because most of our clients do. And the last bit, I've mentioned delivery method, which really comes down to, I know that you've asked about our experience with 149. We have a ton of experience with that. I want to throw out the concept of CM at risk, and I'll use an example that we have here at Durham-Whittier. We're involved in a project in Gloucester. It's a public safety facility, very similar to this. I think, with public safety facilities, renovations, maybe they're not as big dollars as some other projects, and folks immediately lean towards design, bid, build. And that can make sense. What we found in Gloucester is with the facility and the need to be operational 24/7, 365 through the entire construction process, given the tight site and the challenges that you're going to face with a renovation, that having a partner is in your best interest. And so the CM at risk in that project, we started with design, bid, build. We switched throughout that project, and now we're going with CM at risk. And so we don't have to make the decision now. I do have quite a bit of experience with design, bid, build. Having built power plants, they are fixed price turnkey. I understand that process very well. We need a team player on this, and sometimes in that environment, you're kind of in an adversarial relationship. But either way, we'll make that decision down the road. But I just wanted to leave that thought with you for now. And that's kind of what I wanted to let you know about. I'm super excited about the project. I mean, you can see I'm in the office now. Like this is something that I think would be great for Durham-Whittier, could be great for the town of Wakefield. I want to emphasize that hit the ground running, going with getting a designer on board as quickly as possible. And also this programming piece. And Jason is an expert in this. I'm going to turn that over to him. And thank you for your time. And I look forward to answering any questions you might have at the end of this. So thanks again.
Yeah, thanks, Terry. So my name is Jason Harris. As Tripp and Terry mentioned, I have a number of years of experience working on public safety projects. I've personally worked on over a dozen with Durham-Whittier, and really from all aspects, from programming and design to project management, construction administration, been involved throughout the projects. So I really understand the buildings, and more importantly, I understand the departments and the processes that they work with day to day, and how the buildings need to function best to make them work. So, as part of that process, I've developed a number of tools that we use on jobs for all of our public safety facilities that really make the job much more engaging and easier for the owner to get involved with. We want to make it as user-friendly as possible. As part of that, one of the things that we would typically do is we would take a look at the previous studies that were done And in this case, a lot of great work has been done already. I've got here just examples of the floor plans that you already put together. We can go through those, take a look, make sure we understand how those buildings function, and really want to make sure that those still function the way that you need them to and the departments need them to going forward. So as part of that, one of the tools that we've developed is an online questionnaire. One of the options is to send this out to the department, have them go through. It's very detailed, asks questions about processes, about space requirements, about parking and site, all types of different details. And we can really take this information and go back and compare it to the previous information from the previous study. We'll go back and we'll look at the previous space needs analysis, see how that compares to the results of that questionnaire. And we can put together an updated space needs analysis that will really give the architect a leg up moving forward and really get this project started the right way. In addition to that, we take our space needs analysis a step beyond where most firms will take it. We'll not only focus on the individual spaces and how big they are, but we'll start prioritizing spaces, which is a step beyond what you've done to this point. We'll start looking at security zones. We'll start analyzing future growth potential of those spaces. We can start looking at whether or not maybe some of those spaces can be designated for future growth, for first floor, second floor, for use by other departments such as fire in this case, and even parking aspects. So we really want to do as detailed of an analysis as possible so that when the architect does come on board, they'll really be able to hit the ground running and know that the information that they have is up to date and ready to get going. So with that, I'm going to pass this back on to Tripp.
Tripp, you're muted.
I was on mute. I apologize. I want to just say that I understand we're out of time here. I just want to highlight the reasons that I think our projects have been a success, and really think it comes back to the type of knowledge and the team members we bring and how they are consistently monitoring the design, how they consistently monitor the process, and how we really understand the construction in the field. And I think you've heard from this team that those are some strong strengths we're bringing. I will say that the strong leadership role that we take to manage the projects and to solve issues, not let them fester, not push the ball just down the road, but let's get into it and fix it, is a key element that helps projects run well. And outstanding performance and focus on construction, public construction projects is our strength. And with the 60 professionals that we have that work in a very collaborative process and really understand how to deliver projects is what you're buying with Doran Whittier Management Partners. With that, I'll turn it out to you for questions.
Okay, does anybody have any questions? Chip?
You know I do.
That's why I asked you first.
Tripp, if you could talk a little bit about how your OPM group fits into the larger Doran Whittier piece. How you work with the architects? Are you independent? What's happening there?
So in 2011, I started Doran Whittier Management Partners. And this was largely because Doran Whittier used to, prior to the Construction Reform Act in the state of Massachusetts, would do not only architect, but OPM work. And they did that on several of the public safety buildings as well as school projects. So they wanted to get back into it, but we had to have a different arm that was an OPM, so that when we went after projects as an architect, we wouldn't go after them as an OPM, and vice versa. When we're going after them as an OPM, we don't go after them as an architect. However, it doesn't change the strategy that we came up with when I started with Doran Whittier, is we realized that we had a lot of common resources that both the OPM and the architect would use on a typical project. So we share staff. I do not go over to the architect side. So not everybody we don't share every staff member, but people like Jason, like Chip, like Terry might help on a design field job. Hasn't yet, but it doesn't mean that he wouldn't. We try to share as many resources as possible. So what is the relationship? There are some dedicated folks on the A side and some dedicated folks on the MP side. I guess if I had to give you a number, are you looking for a number of people that are?
No, that dollar value, how much does OPM do versus what percentage are you of the total team?
Well, I'm not exactly sure. I would say that.
I guess is okay.
Yeah. Okay. I would say the OPM business does about 35%, 30 to 35% versus 60 to 70% on the architect side.
Okay. One of the other things, who would we see on site on a daily basis?
Without question, it's Terry. And then he's supported by myself and Chip and Mike and Rachel, you know,
Would Terry be what I would call a clerk of the works?
No. Because I was really evaluating if we were fortunate enough to do this, how do you really do it and do it right? And because it's a quick hit, because it's a renovation, because of all the phasing, it occurred to me that from day one, whoever's going to be that person on site managing the work really needs to understand how did we get to the place where we got. And that's running from the design side all the way to the end and closeout. So my thought is on a do side, I wanted somebody who was really going to understand the whole thing. So it's going to be Terry.
Okay.
Now, if you wanted a clerk of the works on top of Terry, yeah, I ran numbers on this for, and we're not talking about numbers, but when I loaded up with a lot of people, I had to ask the question, were they really necessary? And is this a small enough job where one person with the support of the organization can do an excellent job? And when I evaluated it from that standpoint, then I started thinking about really who does this. And Terry, if Terry needs additional backup, you don't have that much square footage. I think Terry being on site every day will be able to fill both roles. And financially, I think it's where you probably want to land. If you want a clerk, there's no question I'll put a clerk in.
Okay. No, that's a great approach. I just was questioning who was going to be there on a daily basis.
Yeah,
I would agree with you that because of this being the renovation and because of just the tight quarters and everything else, there is somebody that really needs to know the project.
Right.
And to be able to also have the communication and coordination with Chief Scory or whoever he puts in charge on his
like
side.
on a daily basis,
Hourly, probably.
Yeah. When he's got a problem, he's got to pick up the phone and call Terry. And that's why I wanted Terry to be involved in the front end, but supported with Chip. I mean, Chip's got a lot of great experience, and Chip would be very heavily involved, as Jason would be. Jason would be on the front end to make sure we got this right. And then Jason would go away. He would be a resource if we need him. Quite frankly, with Chip there, working with Terry on the front end through the design piece. And then it's a Terry show, Terry and me. Yeah. Cause I have to check in and make sure my jobs are right. And that's just my role as the executive. And
so you're a control freak. That's okay.
Yeah. Well, it's
yes,
not
I
great.
am.
It's not great, Chip. Speaking for it's not great, but what I can tell you right now, I'm finishing a job in Lexington actually. With the onset of COVID and everything that happened, I ended up going to that job to take over the on-site role because we were demolishing an old school, trying to figure out how to commission the building. So I took over the clerk activities and the on-site representative. So I basically deal with the town and the administration at a school all the time, and it's not too dissimilar to managing stakeholders in a facility like this. But I agree with Tripp, having somebody that can do that, and at the same time, Clerk of the Works is an important job. There's no question about it. Having somebody that kind of knows how to do that and can do all that other bit about stakeholder management and dealing with the client, it's tough to find a clerk that can do that successfully. What I can tell you is that I can.
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else?
Good, Joe, thanks.
All right, anybody else have any questions? Chief Scory, do you have any?
Looks like Chris does.
Yes.
Chris? Yeah.
I just, one of the items on our score sheet is to ask about workload. And I haven't really heard the discussion about what other projects they're in the middle of, do they have time for us and that kind of stuff.
That's a great question, and I have a tremendous answer. We have finished up the school in Canton. That is down to its final commissioning items. As Terry just mentioned, he's finishing up a job in Lexington, and that's going to be done inside of the next month. I think they were did they get the sod down? That was the last step.
Sob's going down today.
Okay, good. And so he's finishing up on that. I'm finishing up a project in Lowell. We have one job that's, I'm going to say it's 2/3 done in Manchester. We have a job that's just in the design phase in Peabody. And we are actively in need of multiple jobs. The staff that's in front of you is desperately looking for work.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, very, very frankly.
It is. It is the truth. We are very motivated.
Anybody else have any questions?
I have one other, just because I know that working over a year at one spot is tough. Where does Terry live?
So I live up on the North Shore in West Newbury. I mean, Wakefield to me is kind of down the road. I was in Canton before. You don't need to worry about traveling. And to Tripp's point, I mean, from a project management perspective, I likely would never be on more than 2 jobs. And so when we say, oh, I'm 50%, yeah, but I can be at a job 100% of the time. You can be on a job every day and bounce around. So I guess trying to answer those questions, like, you need to see me, well, depending on the traffic, but there will be no issue with me getting there. Frankly, I would be there pretty much every day.
Yeah. The way I was looking at the staffing, Terry, it really, again, I think this is a dedicated person.
Yep.
Because there are going to be conflicts on a daily basis or a weekly basis. Hopefully, maybe it's only on a monthly basis. There's one of that. When you're in a renovation and the chief or the staff that's running are all of a sudden having issues, you have to be there to resolve them. You have to make things get out of the way, and you can't solve it unless you're there. So that was part of the reason I wanted to reevaluate how we were staffing the job.
The last question I had in that reference was, how do you guys handle MEP questions, MEP review, that type of stuff?
Well,
in-house or outside?
So for the most part, so we don't have an MEP arm within, we're on the architect side. We are working with probably every big MEP house or firm in and around the Boston area. So it really depends on the type of questions that are coming up. Most of the time you're going to find when you reach out within the network of the organization, and that's really easily done with an email, a blast email. Has anybody come up with a VRF issue or a radiant ceiling panel issue in small spaces or, what have you. You can ask that question and most of the time you're going to find somebody that says, yeah, we ran into that and this is how we solved it. When you can't do that, the relationship you have across industry, if you want to get a peer review, because a peer review is very beneficial, even when you're going through sort of change orders or you're developing design. There's no question that we have relationships to ask those questions and see if it's worth probing farther.
Because there are a lot of HVAC issues with this building and that need to be addressed and talked about and answered.
Yeah,
Yeah, so-
my guess is you've got some pressurization issues going to come up because you've got an existing building and then you have the new building, and balancing, between the two spaces is probably going to be a challenge, and obviously you have space issues. So, MEP is 30% of your building. So it's absolutely going to be a major focus.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that, coming out of this renovation of a 300,000 square foot building where we replaced the entire MEP system, whoever we bring on board from a contracting standpoint is going to have a dedicated resource. You can't have, we'll take care of that. No, we need a specific person that's going to manage that process from the start to the finish, and it's critically important. And that's what I've had on the last couple jobs.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate it, and don't hesitate to reach out to us.
Thank you.
Okay, now I just have to figure out how to leave. Are we all done?
I think so.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're muted, Joe, if you wanted to talk.
How do you leave?
Yeah, Wayne Hardacre.
We're here all along, Phil, or did you just get on?
You're on mute, Phil.
Yeah, I just got on. I had a work call at 7. Sorry. How many did I miss?
Two. I just wanted to be sure I wasn't, clueless and missed you.
I'm an alternate and I have no vote, but could you just bring them both back and to have them redo their interviews, please?
Well, the beautiful part is they're recorded, so you get to watch them at some point.
Good point, Chip. Thank you. Touche. Touche.
Well, no, as we were talking about you not being there and Jason's not on, that was kind of a key part of going forward.
As long as you just vote for us, you can skip those other interviews.
Shorten the process.
Oh, sorry. I heard some of that. Good evening. Looks like everybody's awake.
Joe, you're on mute.
Our chairman muted himself.
Yeah, rightfully so. Chief, I saw you had a hand up. Did you have a question? I missed it.
Move my.
No, it's all right, Joe.
Okay.
I'll circle back to that with you
Okay.
tomorrow.
All right. All right, Richard.
Good evening.
Good evening. Do you have the control here? I can make you a co-host if you have anything.
I have a brief presentation. Yes.
All right. Let me do that.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
I just made you the co-host, so maybe it was.
Okay. Don't have the, I don't see, oh, share screen. Here we go.
There we
How's
go.
that? Okay.
There we are.
Good. Well, good evening. My name is Richard Marks. We have about half hour, right, Joe? Roughly?
Correct. About 15, 20 minutes to talk and then 10 minutes of questions.
We'll probably do only about 10 minutes of presentation, but we'll get started. So good evening. My name is Richard Marks. With me is Alicia Monks, who's somewhere on the screen.
Hi.
I'm speaking from downtown Boston. There may be some background noise. Believe it or not, there's some noise here at Faneuil Hall. Not many people, though. And we have a great team behind us. If I can go to the next slide. Let's see here. Thought I had it all teed up. Okay. So our team includes 34 people at this point. We're, as I said, based in downtown Boston. I'm the overall project executive and will be personally involved in this project as I have been in a number of our public safety projects. And Alicia Monks is our project manager, and she will be doing the day-to-day work, hard work on this project. So but we do have 9 other project managers. We have, Shane Nolan is in the waiting room, so he's a little early. So we have 9 other project managers, 12 on-site representatives, and we do have an in-house commissioning agent, Derek Richardson, who can support us, and a scheduler. So a great team, which is diverse and also strong in many different ways. Alicia and I have worked on several public safety buildings recently. She's finishing up 2 of them, which is part of the reason we really want this job. In Medford, we're building a new police headquarters, which is going to be finished at the end of October. And in New Bedford, we're building a combined new public safety building, which is going to be completed in February. So we definitely have the capacity to take on this assignment. What really, I think, stands out about Alicia's service and mine on these projects is personal attention to detail, to working with the public safety clients. In particular, she's worked with the chief of police in Salisbury, where we're now doing our 4th project that Alicia is managing. And she worked directly with the chief for really 2 years, right, Alicia, getting that station ready. She's personally working with Jack Buckley, the chief in Medford, literally down to where every screen is, how every marker board is set, exactly where every switch is in the building, just to make sure that they have it set exactly right. She's worked with a number of the other chiefs, also then the several department heads down in New Bedford doing the same kind of personal service. So she will know every aspect of the job and work with the departments to make sure you get exactly what you want. She's a registered architect, and in particular, really specializes in programming and looking at police stations and fire stations in a great deal of detail. So Alicia, why don't you talk a little bit about a couple of projects that are similar?
Okay. I'll just also jump in that I worked briefly with Chief McIntyre in Stoneham. He's the police chief there, and they had a small project that they wanted to replace some mechanical equipment. I don't know, it was probably 2 years ago now, but he's the police chief. This is what he does all day. And they had hired an engineer to help them replace a lot of their mechanical systems. And then the chief was like, well, I don't know how to go out to bid. I don't know how to do all this. I'm a police chief. And the engineers who we work with often directed him to us. And, he's got a full-time job. So I was able to just take over for him how to get the project bid out and get his mechanical systems all replaced the way he wanted it to, and have them work and have them all set up and commissioned and tuned and get it was a tiny project, but working with him, because he doesn't know anything about construction. That's not what he does. That's what we do. That's what I do, to really help with the chief. And he was delighted to not have to ramp up and learn how to do that. So that was just a tiny project that I helped work with him on, that you can talk to him about. That it was very successful. But as an aside, one of the other projects that we've also done is the Belmont Police Station. This is a renovation project for the Belmont Police Station that is currently ongoing. They're hoping to wrap up the end of November, but it was about 7,900 square feet of an addition, which I've highlighted on there in the sort of pink reddish tone, to an existing historic police station that's been there for ages. And so because this was a very thorough renovation, they had to move police operations somewhere else. And they ended up putting them remotely on the DPW site, also in Belmont, not far away. So they run patrol, and everybody in the offices are over there. They ended up getting trailers from a trailer rental company that had previously been a police station, so that they had had sort of been tricked out for some of that. So that was a lucky find for them. But they rented those, and they're over at DPW. However, one of the things was the dispatch, which is the heartbeat of the station, which is so much computer wiring, so much electronics in there. What they ended up doing is just getting a separate trailer, putting it as close as possible to the existing building, and just basically they ran big long extension cords, stretched those wires out to dispatch. So that was the most cost-effective way to relocate dispatch so they could renovate the station rather than move dispatch half mile, 3/4 mile down the road down to DPW. That's what they did with dispatch. That worked and has been actually very successful for them. And then also they didn't provide temporary facilities for the detainees. They made agreements with adjacent towns. So when they find somebody that needs to be taken into custody, they have agreements with Watertown and Waltham and towns around. So that's how they are dealing with their temporary police situation, which you may likely face. Also, this is all for the Medford station. This was just one that, as Richard said, is we're wrapping up on. We have a month ago. The very tight site it's hard to see there, but to the top of the page there is Route 16, and the ramp to going up hems one edge of the building. That's Main Street that goes along the left side. There's the existing police station, which they have been running everything except patrol out of, but the rest of it was all running there. The patrol, we ended up, for the sake of construction process, we moved over to the town hall parking lot just because there wasn't room. That we were so squished for space here that it was just less headaches, that there was plenty of room over at City Hall. So they ended up relocating a trailer and doing patrol out of City Hall. But and at the back of the site, which is kind of to the right of the picture, there are existing, they're all in shadow there, but those are existing businesses, big brick block buildings that we were absolutely hemmed in on all sides of what we were limited to be able to do, and restricted construction throughout the whole process. But that project is going to be turned over pretty much on time and on budget, actually under budget by the sweat of our brow, because we just didn't know what COVID was going to bring us. And luckily COVID had very little implications to the project, which was lucky.
Yeah, this one's a point of great pride for me because we've worked on it. Alicia and I have worked on it for 4 years. We went through a 90-day stoppage when the fire department wasn't happy about them getting a new police station and not a new fire station. We've been through all kinds of wars, 2 mayors, 3 different business managers for the town, for the city, and 2 chiefs of police, and they're getting exactly what they want. And we just toured the mayor of Leominster through this, and he literally said, I want one of these. So that's the sort of reaction we're getting to that.
This drone shot was taken before the PV panels were put on, but everything basically you see in white there is now PV panels, solar panels. And while it's not going to offset, police stations are tough because they're 24/7 and they're very electric intensive, especially the dispatch room where there's so many electronics. But it's 12% of the power. Medford was very dedicated to making it 100% electric building, which it is, because they have a bigger plan for the city to offset all that electric usage. So this building, while only 12%, is plugging into a bigger plan for the entire city to become less dependent on fossil fuels.
Okay, guys, wake up because I'm going to stop sharing. So you're going to be back. So I think that's our formal presentation. We're happy to have questions because I think it makes sense to talk a little bit about your issues.
Could you guys talk about the deliverability, whether you want 149, 149A, and your thoughts on that?
Probably 149. I mean, we do save a little money. We think we can put together a good enough set of documents in conjunction with the architect for the size and scale of this project to do a 149. We've had good luck not good luck. We've worked hard with low bid contractors. CTA is on this project. They have a tough reputation. They've done great. We have no problem with them whatsoever. We're very comfortable in the 149 arena. We think it saves the owner, 5 to 7% overall on the price.
It may
And who would
depend.
your,
One
yeah.
caveat to that is my assumption is it's not going to be an occupied renovation.
No, it's going to be an occupied
Well,
renovation.
then,
Thoroughly,
Then we'll have to look
100% occupied.
Okay, then we'll have to look at it. We'll have to look at it.
okay.
So we probably don't know enough, I guess, to answer that as definitive.
Staging and staging is huge on this project.
Yep.
Yeah. It's that when you get to a construction manager, they are a little bit better on being on things like occupied renovations where there's real fussy lines. It could go either way. I think we need to know more about what the needs are and the actual details of the project. This might be a good candidate for CM, but there's a cost associated with it, so we'd have to understand the pros and cons together. We would talk about it together and understand which way would be best for this project.
Okay. And who is your on-site person every day?
Yep, we have 12 of them. I think this one would probably be Larry McDonough, and Larry is just coming off the Medford project, so feel free to talk to Chief Jack Buckley there about Larry. He's been on for 18 months because we did an early demolition package.
Yep.
He's there every day. He moved to Medford for the project. That's how yep, he's a single guy, and he moved to an apartment a block away from the site. That's how dedicated he is. He's tremendous.
Yep.
Any other questions? Chief Scory, do you have one?
I do. Does your firm have somebody that would help us with public outreach, progress reports, keeping the public informed of what stage and where we're at in this project?
We do. It's a real specialty of ours. Christina Opper in my office specializes in that. Christina's been with us for 19 years. She was a project manager, so she understands construction. She's really good at outreach. We build websites. We've built websites for 6 school districts and cities and towns. Schools mostly because they need the override votes. So we've done a lot of public outreach. We like doing it. We enjoy it. We're planning a 2-day virtual public outreach process. We did a 5-day public workshop on Zoom, believe it or not, 2-hour sessions. So we really believe in it. We like it. We enjoy it. And Alicia and I will actively participate as well. So yes, definitely.
All right. Thank you.
Sure.
Do you have one last question? Do you guys have any MEP, if there's MEP issues or stuff like that, how do you handle that?
Yep. So I'll go back to my screen here.
Absolutely. There's a couple things.
To the, I don't know if can you see my mouse or no, or just?
Yeah.
Okay. So Derek Richardson is a mechanical engineer who is in our office here at Faneuil Hall. And he was a commissioning agent for Fitzmyer Hitachi for 5 years. So he does commissioning and he specializes in MEP work. And then Aquino Hutchinson is a mechanical cost estimator, but he worked for 6 years for a sprinkler contractor. Justin Ferdenzi, who is over, where's Justin?
Middle, right there. You just had it.
Yep, right here is a licensed electrician. And he can program lighting control systems. All these people are in our Boston office. We don't have to go anywhere else. They're the ones who will support us in that effort. So we can bring all those resources: mechanical, electrical, and fire protection.
And then can you talk just for 2 seconds on how your group fits into the big CHA picture?
Sure. We were purchased March of 2019. We had 28 people at the time. We now have 34 full-time employees. We've lost 1 in that time. So the 33 of us that have been with the company for 28 for the 2 years and 5 new ones. We're growing. They have 1,300 people in the overall CHA. So if we do need more specialized resources, we can get it. I had a interesting fire protection issue with some foam systems today that I called them in, but typically, we act as an independent business unit within CHA. They've been very supportive of us. We've been doing well. We make money for them, so they leave us alone. And we bring in new projects like this one. So we'd love to start. We just won a new fire station in Dennis last week, actually, that another team will be working on. So we're doing very well, knock on wood, and we want to continue to grow. But we're doing great, and the CHA corporate's been very supportive of that.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Just a quick question. Is the Belmont station occupied, did you say, or did they move out of the station during that project?
Yeah, so they moved it. So there was a modular or trailer-based complex from the Cape that they purchased whole hog, if you will, and moved that to the DPW site. Moved the entire police operation, with the exception of dispatch, to that off-site location, DPW site, and then they'll move back in. They love it. They've actually bought the entire trailer complex down at Belmont, bought it because they like it so much. Police are very happy, so it's definitely been a great move for them. And, and I know, you guys have already said you're going to occupy the building, but it's something we should consider, is see if there's an off-site location that we can put the police department during the work, to see if we can make that more effective and make them more efficient.
Have you managed a project with a partially occupied or fully occupied building?
Oh, sure.
Similar to
Yeah,
this?
yeah, we've done it all. Yeah, yes. This one is going to be tough because you've got a very, very tight site. I mean, we've walked the site, we've walked the building. If possible, you need to get out because, between the noise, the operations, the security, all the issues, you're going to find a lot of difficulties. And obviously that depends on the extent of the renovations that you do and the additions that you do. So it's a matter of scale, but we would certainly encourage you, and I understand you've already said you're going to stay there, but to encourage you to at least look at options to see if we can cost effectively move you to a different location and then back, because the construction price may be enough less because of having that, having you out of the way, that we can justify that, and then your department, the police department, will be happier. I guarantee you'll be happier than working in an occupied renovation project.
Thank you.
Sure.
Anybody else? Chief Scory, is your hands up from before, or?
I'm good, Joe. That was from before.
Okay, all right. Anybody else? All right.
Well, Joe, we'll just wrap it up then real quick. We'd love to do this project with you. Hope we've demonstrated. Obviously, a half hour isn't a lot, but we're happy to, if you'd like to come down to our Medford Police Headquarters building, it's not far away, right down 93. Come see it, or we can show you around New Bedford, which is combined public safety building, or Belmont. Any of those buildings. We'd be happy to have any group of you, any subgroup of you. We can do it safely. We've done tours safely with COVID, with masks on, and et cetera, et cetera. So we'd be glad to show it. But we'd love to work with you. We think it's an interesting project. We didn't mention, but Alicia lives in Belmont. In Waltham. I live right in the city. So we live close by. We have another project manager in Topsfield. So we'll definitely be close by and can be there in a heartbeat. So thank you very much for the time. And we'll exit gracefully, Joe, and thank you very much.
Just to let you know, the process, we're going to be meeting probably next Thursday to discuss all the interviews, go over our score sheet, and we'll have some information at that time.
Call our references, please, because I know you'll find that Alicia's references in particular are extremely strong. But again, thank you very much, and we look forward to a positive decision in a week or so.
All right, thank you. Thanks.
Thank you all.
We're going to meet Thursday night, not next Thursday, right?
Next Thursday, not this Thursday.
A week from.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because you got to give notice and all that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. That'll give us time for Jerry, Phil to watch the first 1.5, Jason, and to watch, and to Tim as well. And I'll send him an email tomorrow or Thursday. Lynn?
I was quicker than I thought. You said you were running late. I expected it to be
We
much.
were also excited to see you again, Lynn.
I'm excited.
We are
You
10
guys
minutes
too.
late.
I think I recognize almost everybody.
All right.
Ready
who's
for us to get started? Linda's
Yeah.
gonna take the lead on the presentation.
Who's that?
Linda Laporta?
All right, I'm gonna make her the co-host.
Yes, please.
All righty.
I'm gonna see if I can figure out how to share my screen here. Okay.
Have you guys had a long night tonight?
Every night's a long night.
Not for long for you, Chris.
This is my third meeting of the day for this town.
Oh, no.
So much for being a lame duck, you know. I'm leaving Wakefield, Lynn, so I have to get off by the end of October.
What do you mean you're leaving Wakefield? Where are you going?
You kicked him out, Lynn.
I'm moving to Portsmouth.
You're moving to Portsmouth?
Yeah, I'm still working in Wakefield, though.
So you can't be on the committee if you're not a resident?
Correct.
Ah. Well, geez. All right. Are you guys ready?
Yes.
All right, we'll get started. I first wanted to say thank you guys for inviting Left Field and giving us the opportunity to present our qualifications to you for this project. We know the Wakefield Public Safety Building has been on your radar for a long time now. And I'm happy to see that you're finally getting started with it. Are you having technical problems, Linda?
Yeah, we got like a little thing here.
Can you guys see the screen properly?
No, we've got a square in the middle of it.
There's
A square. There we go.
Almost.
One more.
Good enough.
Okay.
Yep, that's fine.
Can you go back one, Linda? So first of all, I wanted to say that most people ask why the name Left Field, and I'm sure you guys have asked, and probably I never had a really good answer. But so we've been putting forth this derivation of left field so that you guys understand that it's not solely because of our love of baseball, but more an idea of or a passion for thinking outside the box. We found that sometimes the best ideas are the ones that come out of left field. And so it's not a negative connotation, it's a very positive one. And we, you know, our left field thinking was developed through our experiences and understanding that not one size fits all as an approach to a project or a program. So every client and every project is a challenge, is unique, and requires a unique approach to achieving a successful outcome. So that's a little bit about why the name Left Field. And moving on to the agenda, we put together an agenda that I believe will address the RFS requirements. It's a little bit about Left Field as a firm, and we'll tell you about the project team and our roles on this particular project, as well as talk a little bit about our past performance on other public safety facilities. And then we'll get into your project and specifically a little bit about what we've heard during the walkthrough and what we've thought about since then as we've developed our presentation. We'll give you a little insight into our project approach, as well as hopefully at the end of this, you'll be able to answer yourself, why Left Field, why choose us. So, next, Linda. We've grown quite a bit since the last time that we've worked with you guys. We're up to 29 employees now. We have a very experienced team, well seasoned. Most of the people have been in the industry for quite some time now. We have a varied background from architecture to construction management to procurement, as well as, you know, representing on the owner side as well. We have Shane on our team with us. A lot of his career has been spent on municipal building projects and has a strong background and history in police, fire, and other public safety facilities. We've worked with you guys before. I think I've been around with you guys for the last 8 to 10 years. And so we know you guys, you guys know us, and we hope that that will help us hit the ground running on this particular project. With me today, well, myself, and you guys know me, but in case you've forgotten, I'll tell you a little bit about my background. I've been a registered architect for 36 years. I have been an OPM since the inception of the OPM law for the last 16 years. And I've also worked on the owner side, both in a K through 12 school district, as well as a university design and construction division. And with me is Shane Nolan. I'm going to let him tell you a little bit about himself in a minute, but we brought him in on this project because he has a significant amount of experience in your building type, the public safety facility buildings. We have Linda Laporto with us. She comes from the construction management side, and she'll tell you a little bit about her background as well. You guys know Mark LaFleur. He was on the last 2 projects with you guys, and we have him slated as the site representative, as well as Jay Faxon, you know him as well, and Adam Keene and Matt Casey. I don't think you guys have met them, but we found that it's been very difficult lately in terms of public utilities and making sure that we have them when we need them on projects, and he gets out in front of that and makes sure that construction goes smoothly. Matt Casey's background is in civil and structural engineering, and again, we found issues on projects, and we brought him on to supplement our team in regards to those sorts of issues. Okay, Linda. Again, since you guys know me more, I'm gonna let Shane talk a little bit about himself and tell you a little bit about his background.
Thank you, Lynn, and thank you guys for having us tonight. I'm happy to be here. My name is Shane Nolan, so I'm proposed as the project director on this project. I've been working in Massachusetts for a little over 20 years now, primarily in the public construction realm. I've been an OPM for those 20 years, and my role has varied from estimating to design and engineering. I've worked on site extensively for some of the large projects I've been on, and those projects range in value from about $5 million on the small side all the way up to some high schools. My last high school was a $300 million project, so I have extensive experience in the public realm. I've worked both on the design bid build under the 149 statute and the CM at risk under the 149A. I've worked with many of the large contractors in the Commonwealth, and also the trade contractors or FUD subcontractors. So I've an extensive relationship with those guys built up over the last 20 years. And I feel I would be a suitable candidate with my public safety background. I've done public safety buildings, police, fire, EMT buildings in the town of Sharon, the town of Situate, the town of Monson, the town of Milton, town of Medfield, among others. So certainly have a lot of experience in the public safety, police, fire, and EMT realm. And with that, I'll hand it over to Linda to say a little bit about herself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Linda Laporto, newer to the left field and OPM team, but I am not new to construction. I've been in the construction management industry for the past 18 years, where I was a principal at a medium-sized GC firm in Boston. And so I've really been involved in all different aspects of construction project, from due diligence and feasibility studies through budgeting, estimating, running the projects, closing them out, and also been heavily involved on the business side of things. So kind of had an introduction to both sides of construction and how it relates to businesses and how it relates to client relationships. So I will be on the team as a senior project manager, and I will basically be working on all day-to-day deliverables, trying to make sure and trying to help all team members from all the different aspects of the project to make sure that all information is up-to-date, accurate, and deliverable. Like I said, fairly new to the left field team, but certainly not new to this area.
The three of us will be working together. We've sort of implemented a real team approach to our projects now, just to give us a wider range of coverage on projects. Shane will be the project director, and he will be the day-to-day contact. However, Linda and I will both be involved on a daily basis as well. These are a few of the cities and towns that we have worked in. Many of these we've done public safety facilities in as well, and we'll show you some of those. In addition to the towns and cities, we've worked with all of the public agencies within MSBA that you see here on the right-hand side.
So we're going to show you some of our similar projects that we've done. I believe most of these were listed in the submission we did, but we'll bring it through these just to remind you some of our experience with public safety and similar projects. Currently, Left Field are working on the Pinehurst Fire Station in Billerica. It's a just under 11,000 square feet. It's a $10 million project. It's currently in construction, on schedule and on budget. The next couple are a couple of public safety buildings that I worked on with my previous employer. The Medfield Public Safety Building was a 42,000 square foot building. It was constructed on the site of the existing public safety building. We moved the operations to an off-site location during construction and moved them back into the new building. Sharon Public Safety, again, was fire and police. It was constructed, it was 2 new buildings joined on the existing Sharon DPW site. I worked extensively on that during the pre-construction, the design, the procurement of a CM at risk, and the negotiation of a GMP for that one. The Gavin Middle School is another project where we've worked with you guys currently in Wakefield, where you're familiar with us, just under 190,000 square feet and $75 million on schedule and under budget. The Whitman Police Station was one of 3 projects that I worked on for my previous employer. Simultaneously, we did the police station. We also did some renovations to their existing fire station, which was off-site, and their town hall building. The 2 of those buildings, the town hall and fire station, had to remain occupied and open to the public during those renovations. And this police station was a new standalone new construction on a greenfield site within the town of Whitman. Bolton Public Safety is another combined fire and police facility that we've been involved in. The UMass Police Department Emergency Facility, UMass Lowell, was a 87,500 square foot project, just under 21 million on an occupied university campus. we worked extensively with the university and the public safety folks in UMass to bring this project in on schedule and under budget. And then finally, the Walton Elementary School, again, another project that Field have worked with the town of Wakefield on, which is another public.
These last three projects are examples of renovation additions that we've worked on.
So just looking at this project specifically, I have looked at the 2017 study done by HKT, and it was updated in 2019 to look at the programming, some of the phasing, and what you guys are trying to do here in the existing police and fire department. So I've started to look at some of the phasing that would have to be done to get this project completed. I did do the walkthrough a couple of weeks ago. Unfortunately, we didn't get to tour the full building, but I've tried to put together a couple of slides, and this is just my understanding of the project from what I've been able to find through the previous HKT study, what I learned on the walkthrough, and some ideas out here. So please just bear with me, and this may change when we get into it, but I'll bring it through some of our thinking. Obviously, the building has to stay occupied by the current police and fire departments during construction, but also has to stay open to the public. It's a 24-hour building, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So that brings some challenges too. I think we're going to bump the building out in the front. I don't see how we won't be able to take over some or all of that parking, which may lead to losing about 18 or 19 spaces out there. But just to bump the building out in the front, I think we need to take that. I do believe we can maintain access to the fire station side of the building and those parking spaces there. I've tried to show some traffic. I'm not sure if that street is a public access or whether that's owned by the adjoining properties in town. But certainly we'll be able to get traffic in and out of there to the parking in front of the fire and in through the main entrance. On Center Street, I'm not sure whether we'll have to close some or part of that during the renovation process. Hopefully we won't, but I've just shown some of those parking that I believe are municipal parking spaces at the moment. If we did have to take those over, we would do that for part of this if we had to through phasing. Then at the back of the building, at the sorry, go back, Linda. Previous slide, Linda.
Sorry.
Just at the back of the building, I've shown again the Sallyport area where we're going to bump out there. There'll have to be some phasing there. I think that could be almost a mini phase within the project. And then during the walkthrough, the fire chief did talk about the fire department apron, where the fire vehicles come out, that there's been some issues with that, and we may, as part of this project, have to redo that apron. Right now it's asphalt, maybe we'll do it in concrete. And then obviously on Princess Street, we need to maintain 24/7 access to the underground parking for the building there. So we've started to look at what we can do. It's going to be a series of phases. I know in the study, it was talked about 2 phases, 3 phases. We'll work with you guys to look at that, and even we may have some mini phases within those couple of phases. Next, Linda, please. Again, we've started to look at this. It sounds like the decision has been made to bump out the existing police department portion of the building. We need to maintain access while we do this. So we'll set up a secure construction area for that. I'll talk about it in the next phase, but the access will be maintained at the existing entryway. And perhaps after the first phase, that entrance is going to move to the right-hand side of that. But we'll have to maintain 24/7 access to the police station for officers, fire department, and for the public also. And as well as bumping the building out, we have to look at it horizontally as well. We're going to bring the building out 10 to 15 feet, but we're also going to renovate and extend 3 floors. So we need to start looking at how we do that. So it's not just a vertical project, but also a horizontal project that we need to start looking at. And we've started to look at some ideas on that. Go to the next phase, next slide. A little bit difficult to see here, but the slide on the left-hand side, this is your central core. I know access and communications with the public has been difficult, and the public comes in through the main entrance, but there are two phones, one for fire, one for police, in there that the public need to call up to the dispatch on the second floor. That you know is difficult if somebody comes in an emergency situation or a crisis situation. That communication isn't immediate. So, you know, I would suggest that perhaps we look at redoing this central core, bringing the dispatch down there as one of the early phases, and probably the first phase of the project. We can open up the new entrance to the right of the existing entrance, and that way, early on in the project, we'll have opened up the new police station, the new access for the public, and they'll be able to come into a dispatch and have somebody greet them when they come in, whether it's for fire or police. The three slides on the right-hand side are a little more difficult to see. You know, the one on the top there, I would say perhaps we would look at a phase 2. That's the first floor. We would start to renovate that portion of the building. We'll have to bump the building out. I'm not sure whether we can bump the building out and renovate the building at the same time, or where we would have to bump the building out, fit out the addition, and then start renovating the inside. But I've started to look at that. So again, that goes back to whether we phase horizontally, vertically, or a combination of both. And I also show then that central stair core with the elevator, which might be one of those mini projects that I spoke about within a phase that we would come in. We need to maintain that access. Obviously, the elevator access, if any of the facilities on the second or third floor remain open to the public, we have to maintain a elevator throughout the project. So we'll have to figure out how we phase that, how we keep the elevator open and keep access to that. And then just on that middle slide, you can see at the back of the building there, again, I think the Sally Port, or the prisoner intake facility, again, could be a mini phase within the project, where we could get in, get that done in a relatively quick duration, and get it back open so that the Sally Port is not down for too long during the construction process. And the next one, Linda. Again, just whether this is part of the project or not, but it was brought up during the walkthrough, whether we do something with that fire department apron. I have worked on fire department aprons before, where we've had to phase it, so we would likely have to close down half of it, redo that part, then open that, close down the other half, and redo that part. There is ways we can expedite that. If we did do a concrete apron, we can pour concrete that would reach its design strength quicker, a higher strength concrete, so we can open that quicker. But there are certainly ways we can do that, and that I've started to look into should that be part of the overall project. So just some of the key things we need to look at in a phased occupied building. Obviously, the safety of the building users is of the utmost importance. Public access to the building, as I said, we would look at that to make sure we have 24/7 access for fire, police, and the public coming in. You know, we will need to set up signage that's appropriate. We will have to get the word out there that you know, the building project is going on. What we don't want to happen is somebody comes up to the police department in a crisis and they can't find the door in, they can't find the entry. You know, and timing is critical for those people to get in, get the attention of the police officer on duty. So we will make sure that certainly safety, logistics, and access to the building is of the utmost importance. Worker segregation. You know, most of this building is not open to the public. And we think it's important to keep that the workers segregated. You know, there's private things going on in the police department the public and the workers should not know about. There's evidence stored in this building that you know, we can't have workers getting access to, that could affect court cases, get cases thrown out if any of that evidence was compromised because of the construction project. So we need to clearly delineate the areas of construction, where construction workers can go, and what they have access to. Parking is a huge issue in Wakefield. It may be that we just tell the contractors you have no parking, and your guys have to figure it out that they can't come to town and park their cars on the site. They have to figure out parking, but we'll look at that. We can put that in the bid documents. And then also Corey or SORI process we'll do with all the workers. Communication, there'll be daily communication with the fire department, the police department, and the town, what's happening on a daily basis. We'll do a 2-week look ahead, and that will be updated weekly. So you're always looking at 2 weeks. What are the disruptive activities that are going to happen? What are the activities that might affect fire? What activities might affect the police? What activities might affect the general area around the project? And then also 24/7 emergency contacts. We'll make sure that when we go into construction that we have a full list of those emergency contacts. If something happens in the middle of the night, the police fire facility is 24/7. But we'll let you know who you need to call at 2 a.m., be it the OPM, the contractor, the designer, if we need to be contacted in an emergency. Vibration and dust mitigation. We're in a downtown area here. We need to be cognizant of that and the public outside. We'll develop a baseline on the vibration. I don't expect there'll be anything that would be over any industry standards, but some of the neighbors might feel vibration from a roller drum, for example, that within the limits, but they may feel that and they need to know that's going on. So we'll establish a baseline for that. Watering down the site, truck wash and sweeping the streets if we need to keep all the dirt off the public ways. And then finally, neighborhood impacts. We'll look at controlling and coordinating deliveries with local businesses. After I did the walkthrough a couple of weeks ago, I came out, there was a tractor trailer parked right in the middle of the parking lot. So, the back of those buildings that face the public safety, we'll have to coordinate deliveries to those buildings with the construction deliveries. So we'll talk to folks in town and the businesses, and we'll come up with a good plan for that. And then just managing, disruptive things. If we have to do it out of hours, so we don't affect downtown businesses, we'll do that too. Three things that everybody talks to in a construction project is budget, schedule, and quality. We certainly have a track record of meeting the requirements and the expectations for all of those. Budget control, I've gone back and looked at some of the history of this project and the funding and the budgets you've done. I understand there is a budget out there. So, one of our first tasks will be to look at that budget and verify that it's appropriate for this project and bring it in line with whatever schedule we're looking at. We'll manage that project or that budget throughout the project. Through design, we'll have cost checks, we'll do estimates before we bid the project, and then during construction, we'll review that budget with any changes and the project contingencies. And then, I've got 20 years, I've been doing this for 20 years. I know how to try and anticipate and plan for any changes that inevitably come up in construction. Schedule, again, we go back to the phasing. How do we do this efficiently for the police department, the fire department, and keeping the building open and occupied? We'll come up with a good strategy and plan for that. And, we'll change that right up to a GMP, or if we did a design bid build right up to bidding the project, we'll stay focused on that to make sure the schedule meets the expectations and the requirements of the project. And then quality control, it's very, very important. We'll have oversight right through the project, through design. Lynn spoke about some of our experts that we'll bring in to do design reviews. We'll have people on site. We'll have Mark throughout the construction period doing oversight. He'll be there daily to identify and manage the construction. And, we just feel that the quality will give you a long-lasting and durable building that you require. Budget, again, budget will be one of the most important things in the project. It's a little bit hard to see these slides. We have processes in place where we manage the budget. There is a budget figure, I believe, about 9.6 million out there. We'll have to manage that with within the town's funding. But we'll also have to look at the different budgets within that. So, construction is the biggest one, but we'll also have admin, which will be, OPM costs, the design costs, furniture, equipment, and that sort of thing. So we'll manage the budgets within the overall budget on that.
And you guys are accustomed to seeing these schedules and summaries on other projects.
And then just in the RFS, there was some questions about whether we felt that this should be a traditional design bid build project or a CM at risk project. I'm sure all of you or most of you are familiar that these are the two options available under the Mass General bid laws for procuring a construction project. Both have advantages and disadvantages. With the design bid build, generally it's a lower price because it's bid competitively. You design the building 100% and then you go out to pre-qualified contractors, depending on what the budget is, but whether we're below or above that threshold, we always recommend that you pre-qualify contractors. And it's been the traditional approach to public procurement in Massachusetts. CM at risk, construction manager at risk, came into being in around 2004, 2005. The big advantage of CM at risk is you get to interview and meet the construction managers before you hire them. And you also hire them on a qualification base. So you'll know who you're hiring, what their roles are before you decide what construction manager you want to move forward with. It also means the construction manager is in early in the project. They'll work with you on schedule, on the phasing, which will be important on this, especially in an occupied building. And with the construction manager approach, it's more of a team approach where the construction manager is providing a service rather than just coming in and building a building based on a set of documents that they bid on. So left field, we have experience in both of those procurement methods. I think when we get into it, we start really looking at how we're going to phase this, how we're going to schedule this. We can make a more determined decision on whether it's design bid build or CM at risk.
So what?
Linda?
Yeah. Sorry, I know we're running a little low on time. But just wanted to talk a little bit briefly about the team strategy that we have as our team. It involves all teams on the entire project. And something that is very important to us is to make sure that everybody in the district and committees, everybody that's involved, end users, administration staff, facilities, the public safety departments, the building department. It's important to us to make sure that everybody has input early on so that we can make sure that drawings and design is ultimately fitting to all different parties that are involved in this construction process and ultimately in the finished product. One of the team members, as Lynn had mentioned earlier, our secret weapon, as we refer to him, Jay Faxon, is instrumental when it comes to, especially when you're doing an ad reno project. He's able to look at existing infrastructure and really help everybody understand exactly what's going on, what needs to happen, what can be done to existing equipment and existing facilities. And something else that he's also been instrumental in helping many other team members of the left field team, which is something that has come up more recent in the current health concerns. He has been very, very helpful to our team where we've been involved in looking at concerns and upgrading existing equipment to address the current concerns and current health guidelines that we're all dealing with in various different proportions.
That means how to purge the buildings before occupancy and after occupancy, increasing the MERV rating on filters, and just making sure that the overall air changes are in compliance with current guidelines given the COVID environment.
We also, as a team, have had many successes in community outreach, making sure that everybody surrounding the building and in the community knows exactly what's going on. As Shane had mentioned earlier, this is a very tight spot. There's a lot of impact on a lot of different portions of the project, and a lot of different businesses surrounding the building. We have worked with many towns and cities and also schools to provide project updates on via newsletters, Twitter, Facebook, websites. We have campaigns where people can vote for projects, editorials in the local newspapers, radio, etc. And we have really gotten a big involvement with the community surrounding our projects.
Hi guys, this is Jim Rogers. I'm the principal of Left Field. They saved the last slide for me, so I appreciate that. First of all, it's nice to see so many familiar faces with the building committee. And I want to thank you guys for the opportunity to present our team and our approach this evening. I know it's been a long evening for you guys. We're almost done. Thanks for hanging in there with us. Why Left Field? The biggest reason why I think, we present the best this evening is because of our team. Between Lynn, Shane, and Linda, we have hopefully the strongest team that we could put forward tonight. Lynn and Shane have been working on public projects for well over 15 years. Shane has 100% capacity, so this would be the only project that Shane would have currently on his radar would be this project. He'd focus solely on this. He can dive in with both feet under Lynn's leadership. And as well, Shane has significant public safety experience. Linda, we brought on Linda from Quarterman, which is a major construction firm in downtown Boston. She was the second employee hired in that firm, and she helped bring that firm to an 80-person firm. So she knows construction, she knows how to manage a company, she knows how to manage relationships, and I think she's going to be a great addition to the team. And we all know Lynn, and I have to say, Lynn is one of the most seasoned project managers that I've ever had the pleasure to work with, and we're glad to have her on the team. And finally, as part of our team, we have, as you all know, Jay Faxon, and Jay will be an integral person to this project when we hit critical junctures, when we require his MEP expertise. So again, I think with Lynn, Shane, Linda, Jay, we've really put together a strong team this evening. Second, I feel like we know Wakefield and Wakefield knows us. We've had a great relationship with the building committee. Lynn's developed a relationship based on her hard work over the years with the committee. And again, I think our relationship with Wakefield, our knowing the various departments and people within the town, I think it will help give us a leg up on the competition. And I really think that our relationship will only help the project. We have a strong and extensive experience with Chapter 149A. I think this project would go well with bringing on a construction manager early, working with the town through a pre-construction process, and helping develop a plan and an approach prior to even starting the project in construction. And with that said, Lynn, I'll let you close the meeting.
Well, I know you guys are probably tired, so maybe I'll open it up to you to see if you have any questions of us.
All right, thanks, Lynn. Does Jeff, do you have any questions?
So it's always difficult. Lynn and I have debated 149 versus 149A, I think, for hours. I often look to her for insight on some of the stuff that we've done and her opinion. So it's great to know people on the other side of the fence. I think, Shane, this is a question for you more than Lynn, and Lynn can probably give you a heads up on this, but many towns have what I might call a weak or inexperienced project team. I don't think that's true for Wakefield. So how do you deal with strong personalities? How do you deal with opinionated personalities when it comes to decisions, process, that type of stuff?
Yeah, Lynn has told me about your building committee and, looking at some of the
Hey,
history. I know you've
all
been
good
there a long
unfair.
time.
All good things.
All the good things. We work for you guys. We're employed by the town, but through the building committee. We're your advocates. We're on your side. If you're talking about strong personalities on the building committee, certainly, we have to be the voice of reason sometimes. And if somebody, has a strong opinion on the building committee or in the town, we'll let them know our opinion, but you're the client, and the client, is right all the time. But certainly, we'll advocate for you and what's right. In terms of, strong opinions on the design team or the contractors team, we're there to be your strong arm, if you like. We've worked with many architects who think they know what kind of building you want, and very often it's not the building you want. And we'll mediate between you and the architects if that sort of thing comes up. Also with contractors, 9 out of 10 times the contractors come on board and there's arguments over money and change orders. And certainly we'll advocate strongly for you with that. I've been doing this for 20 years. My background is in construction finance. I've argued long and hard over GMPs, over change orders, and I certainly have a strong personality myself. So when it does come up, I'll certainly advocate strongly for you and your committee.
I've explained to both Shane and Linda that we've had a lot of successes and a lot of pitfalls on our projects in Wakefield, but I think that all in all, we've come together and we've gotten to the end successfully. So
The other question I had is, you guys know that we've interviewed 4 other people. There are other firms that quite honestly have a lot more public safety and police background and possibly occupied specifically police background buildings in their portfolio. How do you argue that you guys would be better than them in knowing public safety and knowing how to get this project done well?
If I could take that, I would certainly, as Jim mentioned, I'm a relatively new hire with Left Field. I worked for 15 years for one of those 4 firms that you did interview tonight. And that's why you probably saw some of the buildings that were on our slides also on their slide. I've run 5 or 6 public safety buildings from design right through construction. I think the experience I have would match any of those firms. I've competed against those firms. As I said, I worked for one of those firms. I think the true experience is if you were at the groundbreaking and if you were at the ribbon cutting, and I can certainly say I was at a lot of the groundbreaking ribbon cuttings that some of those firms may have shown tonight. So I've done it before. I've done 5 or 6 public safety buildings, and I think I have as much experience as any of those other firms that you interviewed tonight.
as far as my background, while I've only managed a couple of public safety facilities from an OPM standpoint, I've done quite a bit on the design side. One of our fortes when I was back with McGuire Group was fire stations, police stations, and public safety facilities. So I probably have 6 to 8 facilities from a design perspective as well. So.
And then just on the occupied buildings, again, I think about 50% of our projects nowadays are phased occupied buildings, whether they be public safety, they be schools, they be town halls, libraries, just because towns don't have the space to go and build a new building on a greenfield site. So certainly, you know, my resume has a number of occupied phase buildings that have had to stay open both to the building employees and the public.
Chip, anything else? Chip?
No, they answered the 149A question in their presentation.
Okay. The question I had, Lynn, is there any issue about workload, capacity, et cetera?
Definitely, Shane, as Jim said, you know, he's new to our company, and this would be a project that he could devote the majority of his time to. Linda as well. I probably, because I've been around a long time, have, you know, other projects, whereas the two of them don't. But, you know, again, you know me, if I'm involved in a project, I'm involved in a project from the beginning to the end and then some, so regardless of my capacity.
Just to add to that too, that's one of the main reasons why we are set apart from others is with our team approach, that there is not just one person that's tasked, so that if there are capacity questions or capacity issues at a certain given time, that is specifically why we have the team approach, not just from a capacity, but also experience and knowledge. And that's one of the things that we focus big on. And I think one of the things that sets us apart from the other companies.
We've been doing that lately, and it has become, I mean, it's been very beneficial to projects because we have not just one person's opinion on things. We have a project team approach that we can discuss and, you know, discuss any aspect that comes up and share the load. It's been very successful for us, and I think a benefit to the town as well.
With this team, capacity is a true positive. I mean, Shane really does have 100% of his time available to dedicate this project. And I think that would only help, you know, get this project underway quicker and give it more momentum faster. So I really think with the specific case here, I think we actually, the capacity is definitely a positive.
So Jim, I you know, it's great that you say he has the capacity now. Would you commit to him having that 100% capacity through this project?
I will tell you this, Chip, right? If the project required 50% of his time, you'd have 50. If it required 75% of his time, you'd have 75. And if it required 100% of his time, you'd have 100. Yes.
Okay.
I have a question. In your proposal, you had a projected completion of April 2024, which was by far out of all the bidders a lot further in time than anyone else. And I'm just wondering, and I know we don't have a true scope or a specification for this project, but are you really envisioning that this project would not be completed until April 2024?
I think, you know, we put together a conservative schedule. We certainly didn't want to put together a schedule that was you know, 24 months too short. We'd be held to it. You know, since we submitted that RFS, I've been up to the site. I've started to look at some of the phasing. You know, I wasn't able to get into the building and walk each floor and each room. But certainly, I think we can beat that schedule. If the preferred procurement was CM at risk, we could even shorten that further. So, you know, I wouldn't look at that as what we project is going out. I think that was just a first pass at a job which we knew, you know, little or nothing about.
Not realizing what the phasing will actually be. Some of the various components of the phasing could go simultaneously, or it could be a more drawn out phasing approach depending on, you know, what works for both the police and fire departments.
What are you guys seeing as far as numbers and budgets coming back these days with costs? And quick, not a long. Is this a favorable time to go out to bid?
Well, I think it is, but I don't think you'll be ready to bid for probably 6 to 9 months, given where it is. You know, we've still got to go through the whole design process. Where will we be in 9 months? I think the market will still be competitive in 9 months. We've certainly seen things tighten up as more subs are looking for work, and they want to put work on their books, projecting out, you know, the next couple of years.
And just very quickly, Chip, you know, we've seen, we just had a market study performed on another project, and what was showing, you know, pretty typically annually as escalation in the 4 to 6% range is now projected for next year to be in the 1 to 2% range. So there's a definite softening in the market, and, you know, I think it'll only play in this project's favor.
I'm hearing the building materials, so it's hard to come by, not the labor.
Yeah, there's certainly procurement issues as we, you know, get through the COVID experience. That's for sure, Chris.
We haven't found any issues on any of our projects to date, but we have seen that, we have heard, based on some of the market analysis that are out there, that if anything, if there's escalation in anything, it will be on the material side. Just because lower productivity, lower production, and fabrication.
All right, any other questions? Chief Scory, do you have any?
No, I'm good, Joe. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Anybody else?
I think I'm good.
All right. Chip, anything else? Lynn?
Not for left field, but I do want to just circle back before everybody jumps off.
We'll do, okay. All right, Lynn, Jim, Linda, Shane, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Just to let you know, we some of the members were unable to be here tonight due to meetings, due to other issues, illness. What we they will have a chance. These are recorded, so they will have a chance to review them. So to give them time to do so, we're probably not going to meet until next Thursday, and then discuss and go over our score sheets that everyone has, and go over that. And so you'll be notified next week. Okay.
Thank you, Joe.
All right, thank you. Good to see
Thanks
you
to the
guys
committee.
again.
Everybody. Pleasure
Thanks,
meeting
Lynn.
you.
Yeah, nice seeing
Bye.
everyone. Take care.
Nolan, Linda, thank you.
Thank you
guys.
very much.
Okay, Chip.
Yeah, so if people can get their scores to me by next Sunday, I mean, hopefully people have been keeping notes and kind of doing it as you go, because it's tough to remember who was who when you've had 4. But if you can, as soon as they're ready, if you can fire them off to me again, do it individually so people can't cheat on the test.
You just want PDFs?
PDF's fine. Take a picture of your scorecard. I did mine all on one sheet, one versus the other, and 4 scores. However, people, whatever is comfortable, because this will be a public record.
Can I drop them at your house?
Excuse me, Wayne.
Can I drop them at your house?
You can certainly come the 6 houses over and drop it on the porch. Absolutely.
I'll do that.
I'll change it while I walk by with the dog. So
yeah, don't you walk by with your dog on my lawn anymore. But yeah, as soon as you can get them and you're comfortable with them, then I can correlate them, and what we'll then do is a week from Thursday, we'll meet, kind of go over the findings, see if anybody has any general comments, and then what happens is Joe then goes into negotiation mode and starts with the first one. It is done by, legally it has to be done by, the numbers. So, but then we negotiate price and go from there.
Just a quick question, Chip and Joe, anybody. CHA mentioned moving the PD off-site. advantageous. When I worked in North Reading, when they renovated the PD and the fire department in one building, they did the PD, they moved the PD in modulars to a DPW site. It seemed advantageous. Now, the CHA guy brought it up. Was that ever a consideration?
It was, and it was looked at. The one thing that people don't quite understand is what happened through this process with feasibility and with design. And in the true case is that we don't have room anywhere in town. You know, we don't have a DPW. One of the next things we're looking at is DPW and can we renovate the building? So we don't have a whole lot of space. And there was a real general feeling, and we've got some space within the building that we can use. So there was a real feeling that we could do it occupied.
Right.
You know, maybe when we look at it again, we won't be able to and have to think about it. But the budget doesn't have any of that pricing in it.
Yeah, I mean, we were able to do it in the in the 2004, because there was the Montrose School and we moved them all over there. We don't have that much.
We've got the herd.
I'm sorry, the herd, whatever it was.
No, it was the Montrose, but we have the herd now. We have the herd available now.
The herd's used for a lot of things now, a lot of
There's I mean, it's not herd's not ADA. We've looked at all this stuff and it was, you know, the cost of moving them was much greater than the cost of
leaving them there.
Phasing. Yeah.
I have a
But
couple.
I'm sure we'll look at it again.
All right.
Janine?
Yeah, just a question on the scoring. Do you want them 1 through 4 or to apply the multipliers?
However you want to do it. I just as soon you apply the multiplier. It's also a little, just so you guys all do, you're not crazy. The best is 400, the worst is 100.
Okay.
So
That was
your
always
range
my
should
word.
be somewhere between there.
And if I don't think that I have any information across the board, can I leave lines blank for everyone, like building code, for instance?
Because they really didn't address it.
Right.
You leave it for everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah,
or
for
either
everyone.
leave it blank or put in, you know, everybody has code enforcement people.
Yeah.
That's really, it's strange that it's on this sheet because that's really an architect's job
Yeah.
is code enforcement.
I'm just going by the standard form that
No,
was.
I'm not criticizing it. I just don't want to skew the numbers.
Yeah.
I'm just-
Whether, I mean, so
Straight blank. Yeah,
if you're comfortable with everybody getting the same thing, your score will reflect that.
right, okay.
Yeah. Any other questions?
How will I get a copy of the video? Will you send one out to the group, Joe? Or is it posted, or how do I get a copy to watch? How does that work?
Chip, how do you do it?
Don't ask me, I just know it's getting recorded. I
Okay.
think,
I think it's through the.
Up in town hall.
Chris, you got any idea?
Well, I always go through WCAT, so this would have to be back with Sherry Dalton, I would think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's a-
Yeah, they've been posting on certain committees online. Like one of our previous meetings are on there on the
They
website.
are.
Yep.
Yeah.
The
And they're
meetings themselves,
recorded
they're
on-
recorded? Okay. Thanks, Mark.
Right, we can't edit those? Oh.
That's that other committee.
Oh, okay, that's another. Okay. All right, well, we'll work on that. Anything else? All right.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Good meeting, good meeting.
I know it's been a long one. Thanks for everybody.
Coordinating that.
All
Good
right,
night.
Thanks.
This is the longest Joe's ever been on Zoom. Thanks, guys.
that's for sure. I almost stayed awake during it.
I wish I could
Well,
say that it was the
We're not
longest.
sure of that.
All righty.
That was working tonight.
Bye.
Stay.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Have a
See you
good night.
next Thursday, a week from Thursday.
The 15th, right?
Yep.
Okay.